country where you are in the driver's seat of your own future. And that to me is the reason why the American idea is so magnetic. We have an immigration problem because we pull people from all over the world, and I think that I'm representative of the aspirations of not only the hundreds of millions of people who've come over the centuries to America, from the Irish, the Italians, the Jews, but today, the Koreans, the West Indies, the Pakistanis, we come to this country for the same reason, and that is that America offers something unavailable in the rest of the world.
You're right. Our stories start out very similar. I came to the country when I was 8. The reason I was able to do that is that my dad was a small olive farmer in southeastern Turkey, and he got a chance to get a free education. And it made all the difference. And so I was also a Republican when I was younger, and then I realized how the world actually works. So, what I want, where we began to diverge is, I saw that equality of opportunity that my dad had, and I loved it, and I saw that in America, and that's why we chose to be American. So, me being an American is not an accident of birth. It's not, hey, I happen to be born in a particular state. No, we're born outside the country. I came here. I love this country. I want to defend the ideas and the ideals that it stands for. But for me, unlike conservatives, it's not, hey, everything we've done is fantastic, including the wars and the colonialism and the slavery and the what we did to the Native Americans, and all these things are wonderful because we did it. We're Americans. No, the idea is, hey, equality of opportunity, liberty, the American dream. This is what we love America for. Let's live up to those ideals. And so, I was a Republican, and then partly because I'm an economic conservative, and I believe in balancing budgets. But then, in my entire lifetime, the Republicans never balanced the budget, never. And so, I was a Republican so I think, I'm not a guy who's blanket anti-war. I was for the Persian Gulf War, and then we decided to invade Iraq that had nothing to do with 9/11. Well, I'm not for really, really stupid wars. And so, and then the Republican Party started doing torture. So I couldn't believe that this party that I thought was for American ideals and why we came to the country had abandoned all of that. So it turns out for the Republicans it was a marketing slogan. And I came to find out for liberals and progressives, they actually mean it. And they want America to live up to that idea. So that's what I love, and I want everybody to have that same equality of opportunity.
Let's mentioned equality of opportunity. Let's talk about that topic in the context of the 2016 election and the major candidates. Who do you think is going to most effectively bring equal opportunity to the country between the major candidates?
I think it's a little difficult to answer your question for this reason. With Trump and Hillary, you have an unknown against a known. My fear of Trump is, I don't know what he's going to do. My fear of Hillary is, I do. We've got a wild card against somebody who's been in public life all her life, and who's basically been, I would say, on the take from day one. These are people who rent out the Lincoln bedroom. They pardon major-level racketeers, drug smugglers, and crooks for money. We've had corruption in local politics. Tammany Hall, the Daily Racket in Chicago. Never before have we had a Secretary of State who figure out, she uses the phrase commercial diplomacy, and she sure has made it work commercially for her. They've got a system in which the Clintons work as a tag team, one of them collecting the down payment through a speech, and then millions and tens of millions of dollars flowing in return for favors being granted on the global scale, collecting money from foreign governments. So we have an unknown quantity against a known crook. And Hillary's talk about equality of opportunity appears to be for her. So there's no real equality of opportunity. Bernie, in my opinion, is naive, but he's at least honest. And so I think some of the appeal of Bernie is that at least here's a guy, he might have been sleeping on his neighbor's couch until last week, but nevertheless, he's not a crook. At least I'm not a crook.
My sense is, Cenk, you don't disagree with all of that, and you endorsed Bernie in the primary, and you've also been very critical of Hillary, so I'll pose the same question to you, but it's interesting, there is some agreement here on this topic.
There is some agreement, but there's also disagreement. So let me go one by one. We certainly agree that Bernie Sanders is totally honest, and that's why everybody I stopped myself because I should say everybody, but a lot of people obviously recognize that and were behind him, and he's not part of the same corrupt system. Hillary and Donald Trump are part of the corrupt system as counterparts. It's actually a perfect symmetry. Donald Trump brags about how he used to corrupt people, how he would give them, in essence, legalized bribes, and then the Republicans look at that and go, "That's awesome." No, it's not awesome.
But can I stop you here and challenge you? I mean, there's a complete difference between a guy who has never run for public office, who is functioning as a businessman within the crony capitalist system of New York, and somebody who's running that system. So in other words, you can't compare Trump and Hillary. Trump is essentially buying favors, Hillary's selling them. Which is worse?
So let me take some time to address all of that, your question and your points. So I'll start with what you said, Dinesh. So first of all, I have a definitive answer on what's worse. What's worse is the people who set up the corrupt system in the first place. So oftentimes conservatives complain about, big government and there's some crony capitalists. No, the guys who fixed the system were the ones who wanted to purchase the politicians in the first place. So it's not like, oh golly gee, you made me purchase a politician and I made 24,000% rate of return. Oops. They're the ones who corrupted the system in the first place. So it's not like, oh, you twist my arm, okay, I'll give you 100 and I'll get 1,000 back. No, that was the whole system, Dinesh. Well, that's why they did it. They put the money in politics not because it's an accident. It was by design. So yes, Donald Trump is worse because he's corrupted.
In India, to get ahead, to get a license, to get a passport, to get a ration card, you have to pay bribes. That's the system, right? Now, arguably, the fact that the government pays very little money and the citizens feel that this is the only way to get a ration card, they pay the bribe. So in that sense, they set up the system. But who do we hold accountable? The ordinary guy who can't get sugar from the store, or the guys in government who have been elected and entrusted by the people to look out for their interests? We elected Hillary, not Trump.
So let me just think about it. Anybody who watches the Turks knows we're no fans of Hillary Clinton or the system. We can't stand it, and we're not in favor of the establishment. We're not in favor of the corrupt system as we have it now. And I know that a lot of parts of the establishment wants to protect itself. I understand that. But Dinesh, you have to go to the root of the problem. The root of the problem is, and I can trace it exactly to you. In 1971, there was a person who wrote for the Chamber of Commerce. His name was Lewis Powell. He wrote a letter saying, hey, you know what? The Chamber of Commerce can go buy different things. We're not buying enough things. We can go buy education. Let's go and chair different professors at different universities so that we can strike back against liberals. And one of his brilliant ideas was, let's go buy the Supreme Court. Let's give money to politicians so that they will allow us to influence the Supreme Court. You know what Richard Nixon did? It's like, that's a brilliant memo, young kid. Lewis Powell, you're now on the Supreme Court. And then Lewis Powell was a deciding vote in two Supreme Court decisions in 1976 and 1978 that said, yes, corporations are human beings. Yes, they have speech rights. Yes, they can spend money to bribe our politicians, which is mental. There's not a... Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you think a corporation is a human being. Okay, I've got 3 hands here. They must be with you, Dinesh. So that is how they bought the system, lock, stock, and barrel. Then you turn around to politicians who were in this this systemic corruption, and you go, it's your fault, and then you go, the business guy's buying them, don't look at them, don't look at them. They're the problem, they're both the problem, and you're only looking at one side of it.
All right. Number one. I recognize that in a certain Pavlovian sense, to invoke the corporation is not a human being is to bring a certain kind of automatic applause. I recognize that. But
This is true!
no, it's not true. As anyone who goes to law school knows, to say a corporation is a human being is not to say that a corporation has lungs and can breathe and can be murdered in the same sense a human being can. But a corporation is a human being in certain defined legal respects. So, human beings can make a contract in which I hire you, you agree to come work for me. Are you telling me corporations should not be able to make such contracts?
I can tell you exactly what I'm saying. So, let me explain. So, corporations have two different kinds of rights. In the old days, they only had legal rights because they're a legal fiction. We created them. We are their creators. So, and that is how corporations came to be. By the way, the Young Turks is an LLC. It's a corporation. So there's nothing wrong with that. I want corporations to exist. But what the Supreme Court did was it gave them constitutional rights. Rights that they have that are inalienable, endowed by their creator. We're their creator. They don't have any inalienable rights. They have no constitutional rights.
All right. So let's look at some constitutional rights. You have an LLC, so do I. My film company, LLC. Does a corporation, which is to say, remember, a corporation in this case is the 8 guys that make up our corporation, do we have a right of assembly?
Of course, we have a right of
Do
assembly.
we have a right of speech? Am I allowed to make a movie?
No.
No, okay.
People have a right to freedom of speech.
All right,
okay. But a robot that we created that is to maximize profit does not have constitutional rights.
All right. So, this is actually a good test. I'm releasing a movie next month. It's called Hillary's America. Although I'm making the movie, I'm the narrator. It's actually produced by our LLC. What if you and your Young Turks goons show up at the theater and block people from getting in? Is that allowed? Because a corporation has no rights.
No, Dinesh, that's not how it works.
Does a corporation have free speech rights or not?
Dinesh, they have legal rights. It's not that they have no rights. And if you have legal rights, people can't show up and block entrance for other Americans, actual human beings, to attend a movie they'd like to attend.
Okay. So the idea of disrupting the movie is only prohibited because he wants to come watch it and he has rights. The actual right to show the movie does not exist, in your opinion.
So he has rights, and he has a right not to be blocked, not to be assaulted. So that's obvious.
And that is the only reason why you wouldn't do it.
No, there's many. First of all, nobody goes to your movies anyway. Who's going to take out a Saturday night to go to a movie?
Okay. How many people watch a typical show of the Young Turks?
I'm glad you asked. We have 210 million views a month, 7 million views a day.
Okay. And hold on. What does it cost to watch your show?
So you can either watch it for free, you get
Okay,
advertising,
so you get it,
or
pay
you
for
can
it.
become a member at TRTnetwork.com.
Let's pivot back to what you were saying earlier about